are you doing? I hope you all are doing great. Yeah, I'm also fine. Today we are going to discuss this topic. You can see I have written on the board. Talking about this topic, the topic is one of the aspects of the past tense. And yeah, the third aspect of the past tense. And we are going to discuss. And talking about the topic, you can understand if you see the topic intensively, if you observe the topic intensively, the past perfect tense. Past, past, it means before this time. Perfect, it means complete, something completed in the past. See, you can clearly understand. Past, it means something before this time. And perfect, it means something completed before this time. So this is how we can understand the past perfect tense. And talking about its structure, basically we use had plus verb 3. We use had plus verb 3. And while changing positive sentences into negative sentences, or while forming or making negative sentences, we use had, and after had we use not or anti. We use not or anti after had. And this tense is basically used when an action or an event completes, or an action or event is completed when in the past. If something is completed or if something completes in the past, at that time this tense is used. And you can see the past perfect is used when an event or action completes or is completed. An action or event is completed when in the past. In the past, if an action or event is completed or completes, at that time we use this tense. And talking about its structure, while making positive sentences or while forming positive sentences, we use this structure: subject, and then had, and then verb 3, and then object. And this had is called an auxiliary verb or a helping verb. This had is understood as a helping verb or as an auxiliary verb while forming past perfect sentences, because with the help of the had we make past perfect sentences. That's why we call it a helping verb or an auxiliary verb. Then verb 3. The verb 3 is also called the past participle. For your kind information, I just want to let you know, the verb 3 is also called the past participle, and then object, then blah blah blah. And while making or changing positive past perfect sentences into negative past perfect sentences, we can use this structure. We do nothing but little bit change, that is, we add an ot or nt after the helping verb had. We add an ot or nt. This one thing we change while forming negative sentences, and everything is same. So let's talk about some positive sentences. How can we form positive sentence? How can we form past perfect positive sentences? Let's understand through example. See, positive sentences, we use subject. We use had. we use then verb 3, then object. And another one is they. Subject had verb 3, saved verb 3, and object the boy. So with all the subjects, either singular subjects or plural subjects, we use, and we can use had. We can use this had with either plural subjects or singular subject, or whatever subjects we have, we can use this had with those subjects. And while forming or while changing positive sentences into negative sentences, what we do? We just add an OT not after had, an OT not or NT after the auxiliary verb had. This is how we can make or we can change positive sentences into negative sentences. You can see here, he had not helped her, and they hadn't saved the boy. And NT is always written together with helping verbs, and everywhere with helping verbs we write together NT. However, but NOT we always write separately with helping verbs. Here you can see NOT separately, NT together. This is how we form negative sentences. Now let's talk about its uses. People, you know what they say. I know all these talk shows, but I don't know how to speak. And the reason might be is the first thing they don't know uses, and other things might be there. For example, practice, and then the environment where the language is spoken. They might not have, but one reason could be, or one reason is usage. Obviously, usage, it means how can we use here in this regard, how can we use the past perfect tense? Where can we use the past perfect tense? In which situations, in which circumstances can we use the past perfect tense? And when can we use the past perfect tense? This is very crucial and this is very important to understand. If we understand its uses, it's gonna be very easier. It's gonna be far easier to speak or to communicate. That's why knowing the usage of the past perfect tense, or knowing the usage of any grammatical topics, is very pivotal, very important, very crucial. You people have to know. And where can we use the past perfect tense? This is the question. And in these situations, I have brought here some uses, and in this situation, other situations might be there, and I found these many situations, and I have brought these many situations here, and in these many situations we can use the past perfect tense. And before talking about these situations, these conditions, and these uses, let me share you one thing. Basically, the past perfect tense is used to show a past time or event. For example, see, he had helped her. Through this sentence, we can understand in the past. In the past, yeah, maybe a particular time, maybe not. In the past, somebody had helped somebody. It means in the past, not now. In the past, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, somebody had helped her. Like this way, we can use the past perfect tense to show a past time or event or action. They had saved the boy. When? It means in the past, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, they has saved the boy. Like this way we can use the past perfect tense when and how to show a past time or event. We can use the past perfect tense. And you can see I have used here parentheses around the term object. This means sometimes without an object a sentence might be complete. See, this sentence is complete. This sentence is meaningful. In the past, he had laughed a lot. It means without an object. You can see here there is no object. Without an object, sometimes, oftentimes, a sentence might be complete. That's why I have used here parentheses and blah blah blah. It means other words might be there. Not only subject, then had plus verb, 3 plus object. Other words might be there while communicating, while speaking, while writing. At that time, other words might be there. That's why you can see he had laughed a lot. Other blah blah, it means other words, blah blah, it means other words might be there while forming sentences, while speaking, while making sentences at that time. That's why I have used blah blah blah. So coming back to its uses, let's talk about its first uses. See, an action completed or an event completed something perfect in the past. When? In the past, before this time. In the past, it means before this time. This time is a present time, and before this time, obviously, in the past, prior to some other past event or time, we can use this past perfect tense at that time. Something completed in the past before some other past event. Something completed when? Before or prior to some other past event or time. Let's understand through examples. You can see he had already left before I could offer him a ride. He had already left before I did this action. Before I did this action, he had already left, and that's why I couldn't do this action before this action. See, an action completed in the past prior to some other event or action. This happened already before happening this action. Before happening this action, this happened. He had already left before I could offer him a ride, and that's why I couldn't offer him a ride, and this action didn't happen. This action didn't happen, and this is how we can use the past perfect tense. And another example is she had worked at the post office. Well, at the post office, she had worked before 2020. See, other past event or some other past event or time. Some other past event or this one is time. Before this time, she had worked at the post office, and after this time, she didn't work. This is how we can use the past perfect tense. And another one is he had already married somebody before she proposed to him. See, she couldn't propose. Why? Because he had already married somebody before she proposed to him. See, this one already completed before this one happening. Before happening this one, or before this one happening, this one or this action already happened, and he had already married somebody before she proposed him, and that's why he was married, and because of that reason she couldn't propose him. This is how we can use the past perfect tense. And one of the use you can see here, imaginative conditional in the subordinate clause. In the subordinate clause is also called the dependent clause. Also called the dependent clause, and imaginative conditional in the subordinate clause or in the dependent clause referring to past time. Let's understand through this example. Why why I just said this one, the deep subordinate clause or the dependent clause, because we can use the past perfect tense in this situation. The situation is imaginative conditional in the subordinate clause. See, if Sally had studied harder, she would have passed the exam. This one is a past perfect sentence, and this one is a dependent sentence or a subordinate clause. And without this clause, this is not complete. See, if Sally had studied harder, then what? That's why I just said without this one, this clause is not complete. That's why we use the past perfect tense in the subordinate clause in this situation. For example, imaginative conditional in the subordinate clause referring to past time. See, referring to past time. If Sally had studied harder, it means if Sally had studied harder, she would have passed the exam. It means Sally hadn't studied harder, and because of that reason she couldn't pass the exam. If she had studied harder, she could have passed the exam. She would have passed the exam. See, it's an imaginative conditional sentence. We are just giving a condition through this sentence. If Sally had studied harder, she would have passed the exam. But Sally hadn't studied harder, and she couldn't pass or didn't pass the exam. We are giving a condition, an imaginative condition, because if it means always we use mostly if clause sentences to express conditions, and here we are using the past perfect tense to express imaginative conditional here. And another one is, and talking about conditional sentences, try to understand this most here in this class. In our coming classes, we'll be discussing in detail about conditional sentences, if clauses, main clauses, dependent clauses, subordinate clauses, all the things we'll be discussing there. And another use you can see, the present perfect in the direct speech. See, direct. He said, I have been in England for 10 years. The present perfect in the direct speech. This one is a present perfect sentence. Becomes what? The past perfect in the indirect speech. A present perfect sentence becomes or changes into a past perfect sentence. See, that he had been in England. Had been, it means a past perfect sentence. Have been, it means a present perfect sentence. And in the indirect speech, this one is indirect and this one is direct. The present perfect in the direct speech, this one is a present perfect sentence in the direct, and becomes the past perfect in the indirect speech. This one is indirect, and becomes the past perfect tense. So you can see if if the if the introductory verb is in the past. See, this one is an introductory verb, and if the introductory verb is in the past, the present perfect in the direct speech becomes the past perfect in the indirect speech. You can see he said this one is an introductory verb. If the introductory verb is in the past, you can see this verb is in the past. He said, I have been in England for 10 years. And this one is a present perfect sentence, and we change this into the past perfect tense. With the same meaning. The meaning is same. See, he said that he had been in England for 10 years, and this is how we can use the past perfect tense. And for your kind information, just want to share you something. See, commas or inverted commas, while forming or while changing direct speech sentences into indirect speech sentences, we omit commas or inverted commas. While changing direct speech sentences into indirect speech sentences, you can see here there is no comma, there is no inverted comma here. So this is how we form sentences, or we can use the past perfect tense. And yeah, talking about the direct speech and the indirect speech, this topic as well will be discussing in our coming class in detail. Don't worry, but this time try to understand this much, how we can use the past perfect tense. This is how we can use the past perfect tense as well. And another one is the simple past tense in the direct usually changes similarly like this way. A simple past sentence is also changed into the past perfect tense. In which situation? If the simple past sentence is in the direct speech. If the simple past sentence is in the direct speech, we change that simple past sentence into the past perfect tense while making an indirect sentence. You can see if the introductory, changes similarly. It means like this one. If the introductory verb is in the past, with the same meaning. The meaning is same. He said that they had known how well, had plus verb 3, and this one is a simple past sentence. This one is a past perfect sentence if the introductory verb is in the past. And while changing direct speech sentences into indirect speech sentences, we remove or we omit commas and inverted commas, and we do not use commas and inverted commas while forming or while making indirect speech sentences from direct speech sentences. And this is how we should use, or this is how we can use the past perfect tense. So in this class we studied the past perfect tense, its definition, its structure, its uses, and in which situation, in which circumstances, in which conditions we can use this tense. We discussed. In our coming classes we'll be discussing other aspects, other grammatical topics. So for the time being, let's wrap up the topic, and thank you so much, and see you soon.